everyone, welcome back in another video. Today date is 19th of October 2022, and in our today's video we are going to see introduction to CSS. So in our previous video we have briefly discussed about the HTML and the JavaScript and TypeScript. So basically what is meant by a CSS? We can understand in a real-time example. Suppose there is we are manufacturing a vehicle. So that time there was a three sections. One is the engine, another is the body of vehicle, and another third one is the aesthetically aspects of that vehicle. So in our developer that time the overall structure of a vehicle, that means the vehicle body, is supposed as a our HTML. That means is provide only a structure. The vehicle running on which parameter, that is our business logic, that which we are writing in our TypeScript, in our Spring framework. After that, the third parameter is the vehicle having the color, shiningness, styling, or the interior of that vehicle, particular that dashboard, seats, and all the interior which are including the aesthetic of that vehicle, which improve the luxurious of that vehicle. That is the CSS. In our developers size, when we are creating any page, that time we are providing a business logic at a back end. That means that back end does not visible to the user. User can only see the UI, the user interface. That means whenever user come for the giving the input on their UI, that time it see the some kind of, suppose there is a one registration page. In that registration page, when any user can go for a registration, that time it see the window for a registration, for ID, password, new registration, forward password, and all those things are on that screen. So suppose if that structure is colorless, that means there is a only black and white structure. There is a login ID and login ID, password, and login tab is only there. So that time that after some time that page get irritated. That means it not comfortable for user. As per if we are seeing in the as the perspective of our aesthetic purpose, that time that not get attractive for the user. So there was for user friendliness or the attraction about that page, we are implementing a CSS. So CSS is nothing but a uh, cascading style sheet. Cascading style sheet means within that sheet we are providing a different kind of a parameter on our HTML. That means the HTML can provide a structure. Structure, suppose the size of that our page, within that page, the where we are at the center, we are giving the command box for a login ID, password, the size of that button. But we can apply also by using CSS, by using HTML, we can apply a CSS, but that CSS is not fulfilled. We only apply some kind of terms, like we are only able to change the color of text, or we are only able to apply the buttons, but that buttons are limited in shape. That means there is only square button, but there is not actually proper CSS behind that. So that's why we have to improve the shininess of page, or for the improving the aesthetic purpose, we are implementing a CSS. So CSS can give a shininess or give a particular interface that improve the uh, vision of that page for the using. For using a CSS, there was a three types. We are using three types of CSS in our HTML. When we are creating a page, that time we use the inline CSS. After that, we are using the internal CSS and external CSS. What are the three types? We can see briefly. So first one is the inline CSS. Suppose we are creating any page. That time we put some CSS within that particular page. I am creating a welcome box for a UI. That means that within that welcome box, I have to write a one message, that is the welcome. After that message, some type of description about my page is there. So that time I have to implement my CSS only regards that particular line or particular paragraph. That time I am using the inline CSS. Syntax for the our inline CSS, where I can only give the within that opening tag of paragraph, that is the P. Within that paragraph I am passing the inline CSS by using a style tag. Within that style tag I am passing the parameter, like I have to change the font of that paragraph, or I have to give some background to that particular paragraph, or Suppose I have to give some styling, some kind of font style like New Time Romans or Italic or as per the requirement. We have to implement all those things. Or suppose we have to add some shininess, the size of that box or shape of that box, circular or elliptical, that kind of shape we are need. That time we are using the simply inline CSS. That means there is a limitation of use in CSS. That means we are only use inline CSS for the small purpose. We are not able to use that CSS for the huge project. That is our inline CSS. After that, the next one is our inner internal CSS. Basically, we are using that internal CSS by using a two method, by using a ID and by using a class. For when we are using the ID, that time we have to pass the particular ID. One thing is that our ID should be always a unique. There, that means we are not able to create that duplication of that ID because of purpose. There is a not actually issue for the CSS, but when we have to change in our HTML page, that time if we are passing the same ID, suppose there was a information in two blocks and I am giving the same ID to the to both of that box. If I have to change some logic regards that any block, that time if I am changing in my logic, that time that change should be implemented for that both two boxes. That's why the main purpose of ID giving the ID is it should be unique. We are not passing the ID as a duplicate. And another way is by pass. In ID we can retry or we can write the ID by using a hashtag and the ID name. We are implementing ID for a paragraph, for a particular body, for a particular table. That kind of tag in which we have to pass the complete CSS. We are passing that ID or class within that opening tag. And after that we are creating the simply tag of style. Within that style tag we write the syntax which we are need. That means we need a border or we need some external padding or we need some external links or website or pages, videos, or that kind of things which we have to insert in our styling, that we are using the internal CSS. That means we are creating styliness within our one page. That means within a one class. When we have to use a huge project, that means when we are using on a huge project, that time we prefer to create a user external CSS. For creating an external CSS, we are create one more page for a CSS. That time we create a one page as a CSS, our style.css page, and within that style.css page within that our CSS page we no need to create a style tag. We are no need to use a style tag. We have to only pass that command or pass that modification statements which we have to implement on our page. We have to only pass the parameter on which we have to implement that CSS style. Suppose there are number of paragraphs and suppose there are 4 number of paragraphs and I have to same styling for that 4 paragraphs. That time I am only passing the parameter as a parameter in the styling as a paragraph, and I am passing all those parameters within the paragraph. That means the all changes or all parameter which I am giving to within that CSS, that directly implement on our HTML page, and it show that changes on all 4 pages. But that is the disadvantage. That's why we are using, if we are changing in one paragraph, that's display in all 4 paragraphs. That's why sometimes we need to use sometimes we need to use a inline CSS, or sometimes we need a use a inner CSS. So that is the overall about introduction about the CSS. Thank you.